for Russian airplanes coming in from the water, basically. This is inside our own airspace, so procedures really aren't laid out there.
As the bird gets up into the air, both Lads and Sorrells guide the pilot to get closer to the objects. But there's a problem. By this time, they have started to move away from the base.
He went up to take a look at it, and they run radar intercept on it, and they were having a hard time getting him, in the area. At one point, I was directing the aircraft. I would line him up with the runway, give him a heading.
Have him come right down the runway. Operator 01, starboard 040.
At one point, they run him through as high as 40,000 feet. And I was talking to the director, and he was asking me, how's he doing? I said, well, he's closing on it.
01, you should hold a 1 flip now. Target on your right, 1 on your left.
And as he got closer, I said, he's low.
Tower, how's things look now? He's low. Look, search high, search high.
And the thing is rising very fast.
That thing is rising.
Well, he's at 40,000 feet. I said, I don't care, he's still low.
He's way low. Way low. We're at 40,000 feet. Still low.
But as the pilot gets closer, the objects get further and further away until they finally disappear, out of visual contact and out of radar contact.
He has moved now to approximately 145 degrees, estimated 40 miles, and very, very high now. It is almost invisible now.
What is your estimate of this?
I think it was an unusual incident for all professionals involved. The only unprofessional I heard in there was a UFO officer. He's the only one that thought it was an airplane.
The declassified tapes are just the beginning. The alert pilot, Captain Clark, who never spoke of this incident beyond that night and could never know it would be investigated in the future, would eventually write a letter to his wife elaborating on what he saw that night in October.
Captain Clark? Yes. What do you think of it? Well, I'll tell you, when I first saw the thing, it was approaching the base from the north.
All I could see was the pulsating, not rotating, light.
I got a good look at it with the binoculars. It seems to be pushing a little cloud in front of it.
The team has just heard declassified recordings of an incident above Edwards Air Force Base on October 7th, 1965.
This is the tower in Edwards. We have an object now moving southward.
Chuck Sorrells, the senior air traffic controller at the base that evening, has shed new light on the strange objects that were found hovering for almost 6 hours in restricted airspace. But Sorrells and the recordings are not the only sources for the story behind what the Air Force refers to as the incident. Captain Darrell Clark was the alert pilot at Edwards Air Force Base that evening.
It looked like a fairly low altitude, probably 10,000 feet.
His voice is on the audio tapes.
It turned a little bit more westerly and gained a tremendous amount of altitude.
After decades of silence, Clark feels compelled to document his experience from that fateful night in a letter to his wife.
The important thing about this letter is that Captain Darrell Clark was the senior ranking officer on duty, and his account corroborates Chuck Sorrells' account. Both men kept this a secret for as long as they could. Obviously, this incident had played on his mind for decades before he decided to share the secret with someone.
This letter was given to the UFO hunters by Sam Sherman, the architect of the reconstructed audio transmissions from Edwards that night. Sherman obtained it directly from Clark's son.
I was on alert at Edwards Air Force Base in California and was the senior ranking officer on duty. At about 0200 hours, I got a call from the senior controller. He said they had reports of UFOs and had had some radar contacts.
Hello, this is Captain Clark, Alpha Lima. Okay, Captain Clark, Lieutenant Reed. We have some confirmed reports of some unidentified flying objects in your area. Okay.
As I scanned the sky, I observed a pulsating light to the northwest of my position, moving south at about 1,000 feet above the ground and around 300 knots. The UFO never leveled off. It continued to climb. It appeared to move right out into space until it finally passed out of view. Darrell A. Clark.
The incident was also whispered about the following day amongst those on the base who hadn't witnessed the event. Test pilot George Merritt was stationed at Edwards at the time and remembers the energy surrounding this story.
My name is George Merritt. I was a graduate of the Air Force Test Pilot School at Edwards Air Force Base. Well, when I came into work the next morning, there was a buzz going on about these strange lights that had been seen south of the base late in the evening and into the early morning. And so everybody is talking just like the TV program from the night before. What was it? What do you think it was?
And Merritt confirms why it took the Air Force so long to scramble a bird to take a closer look.
Starting with the president down, they have to determine at that level, Pentagon level, that there is a threat and we want these nuke-armed interceptors to take off, identify, and shoot them down. You take that very, very serious. These lights are presenting no hazard to Edwards Air Force Base. There is nobody dropping bombs, nobody firing missiles, shooting guns, no parachutes coming out, nothing that is a threat to Edwards, nor is there at this time to the air defense of the United States.
The report goes to someone called a base UFO officer, correct?
This Captain John Balint.
Captain John Balint.
Who was part of the Foreign Technology Division out of Wright-Patterson. And foreign technology, that means that there's classified secret things going on at Edwards that he needs to review and report to his higher headquarters. He is the one that wrote the official Air Force report, signed it, and it went up through the chain of command. So that is the official report of this. That was not written by an Edwards person.
This official Air Force report was the same report that dismissed one of the objects as a weather balloon. Could this, in fact, be classified technology that Balint was not allowed to reveal or didn't know about? During his initial reconstruction of the audio tapes, Sam Sherman contacted Balint to discuss the incident, but Balint refused comment and was not interested in participating in Sherman's investigation.
My take on it was that a year and a half earlier, when I was a student in the test pilot school, President Johnson announced that the YF-12 Blackbird was at Edwards. I saw one of them taxi in. First time I'd ever seen the Blackbird, knew nothing about Groom Lake, nothing about Area 51, and here the most magnificent fighter aircraft I had ever seen comes taxiing in, and I'm a fighter pilot. You'd think I'd know about it, but I didn't know about it.
So what did that plane have to do with the UFO incident?
Well, so my first feeling is if there's some kind of lights out there, and it is in fact some kind of a vehicle, it's probably a classified program. The restricted area, the area where we as test pilots did all of our flight test, was in what's called the Edwards restricted area, the same one that we have right now, 2512. And it starts about 5 or 6 miles south of the runway and runs to the west, runs to the north, and runs to the east. So the testing area for our aircraft were all north of the Edwards area, Edwards base.
According to Merritt,